Hi there. Welcome to Sunnyside Journals. I'm Catherine. I have a flip through of a traveler's notebook I completed today, and I thought you might enjoy seeing what's inside. Maybe hearing a little bit about how I made it, although I did a whole series on the process of making this. So you can always check my YouTube channel if you want to see how I pulled this all together. This is made almost completely from repurposed materials. So the papers are from books that were from thrift stores and garage sales and antique shops and estate sales. Same with, there's vintage cards in it, vintage postcards, antique cards, old laces, fabrics, old wallpapers. You're going to see when we open this up. So just to look at it in general, let's measure it. Now, where is my ruler? Here we go. So it's 9 inches by the cover 5, but the text block is actually a little bit smaller. I wanted the edge of the cover to protect the text block. So you'll see it's just a little bit larger, just the way books usually, the cover is a little bit larger. So when we get, it's got a ribbon holding it closed. Let's open it up. We'll take a look inside. You'll see on the cover that it's made from an old envelope, and it's been collaged on with old books. These books range in age. They really are pages from books. The oldest book that I've used in here is from the 1870s, and the newest one I think is from the 1950s. The encyclopedia is from the 1950s. And I've left the window of the envelope intact, and you can see, I don't know if you can tell, there's someone peeking out there from inside, and we'll talk about her in a second. I've reinforced this spine just with a bit of bias tape, and I aged it to look, to be appropriate with how this cover looks. And I'm in love with how this turned out. There's an old ticket there. I've reinforced where the eyelets are, just with a little piece of, this was actually from a brown paper bag, and I used ink to dye it red, and then I used dark brown to age it, and it now almost looks like leather, and I'm really happy with how that turned out. So let's take a look inside. That is a stamp from France, an old stamp from France, and then I created this here just to continue it looking like it was an envelope. So inside you'll see that I actually wanted a little bit of fun. I wanted it to kind of be a surprise when you open it up, and so I played with a bit of oxide inks, a blue one and a yellow one. The pocket here is from a photo of an opera singer that was in a book I have that was published in 1913. And I forget what her name is. And in here you'll see that there's a little tuck card that can be journaled on. And then I've also tucked a little recipe from the 1940s in behind a little calendar. In here there's a little collage. I used some leftover Edith Holden paper that you'll see later on when we get to the center of the book, and that collage is made with vintage wrapping paper and also a fussy cut out of 1908 Sears Roebuck. There's a little cluster here that I've put a rusty safety pin on and a little charm with a little pearly heart on it, and I've run some ribbon through the holes of this check reconciliation paper that has been tea-dyed. I tea-dyed it. Here's some music composition paper and a little ruffle sewn on down the side. You're going to see a lot of sewing in this traveler's notebook, more than I usually do in a journal, and I had fun. I enjoyed it. There's a rusty bulb pin up here with another little heart on it. Lots of room for journaling. A little cluster here of little fabric samples. And again, sewing everywhere. On this page, I've made a tuck spot out of a piece from a scrapbook paper. Here, this is French wrapping paper. and some music from the Royal Conservatory of Toronto, examination papers. And then this is a genuine antique postcard. The best I can figure is the early 1900s. It was from a sampler album that I found, and they wrote the prices of all these postcards that Sunday school teachers could purchase them in bulk. Over here, I have created an old-looking photo, but it's actually out of a book. But I've backed it so that you can write on it, and I was following along the tutorial by Wishes and Weeds, and Nancy's photo that she used had a tear in it, and she fixed it with tape. So I followed along, and I did as I was told. And then I've also tucked in, this is a scan from, I actually own this original. It was in my great-great-grandmother's Bible. And you can journal on the back. And then that's just held there with an old paper clip. I don't know how old, but it's no longer silver. It's become quite tarnished. Again, lots of journaling space. This is from a book I have of botanical prints. Here's tuck spot made from this big piece of paper. I flipped it up to make pockets, as I was told in my tutorial that I took with Nancy. It's free. You can go over and do it yourself if you want. There's journaling on the back of this. This was from a bridge score pad, and I just thought he was cute. On this page, there's quite a few flipping you can do. This is a page out of a vintage Ladybird children's reader, and there's a little cluster up here with some sewing and a little button. And there's a tuck spot here made from vintage wallpaper. And then I made a faux, it looks like it's from a package. I used genuine stamps, and I used an old paper bag, but that actually is my handwriting, and I made it to look like it was torn off of a package. And it's actually a tuck spot. You can put things in there, and then this pocket is a pocket. And it hides in behind there. On this ledger paper here, I added the number 11 to it. And then there's a tuck spot made here with collaged paper and a little cluster of laces. And there's the wallpaper again from the pocket, just tucked in there as well. And I've put in a journaling card for you. And this is also from that encyclopedia from the 1950s. Another little cluster here with some buttons and fabric and laces. Here's tuck spot created from just a piece of lace sewn on. I've added in a time card for working, so you can clock in and clock out of your job. Here's a genuine vintage greeting card, and it has a little cluster at the bottom, and I've glued along the bottom so that it's also a tuck spot. And then I had some leftover collaging paper that I dyed to match the interior, and then I just added a ticket to be the tab so that it's easier to find when it's tucked away inside this vintage greeting card. So it just sort of hides there. Here's another tuck spot created from vintage wrapping paper. And I've added in here, just so that you know it's a tuck spot, this is actually from an 1800s autograph album. So that's the real deal there. I got that in some Happy Mail from my crush. And again, this envelope that I used here, I made it look like it had been addressed to someone. And I did a little stenciling here. This is from a book as well, and I just thought she fit there perfectly. So I folded it that way so that she's on the front. A little bit of Edith Holden here in the center with a little tie detail up here and some eyelets. I got my idea for the eyelets on the front of my book from this, and I just love how this turned out. I just really think that that's just a beautiful detail on there. Another little cluster here, and this little tag is ruffled, and that just thrills me. And I never thought of that. That's from Nancy. Here we have a tuck spot from a genuine 1940s seed envelope. There's no more seeds in it anymore, but I just thought this was so pretty. And it was tucked in with a whole bunch of recipes in an old tea tin that I found at an antique store one day. And it's got a genuine vintage little thank you card in it that I have turned into a little notepad. And I hand sewed it together, and now that's a little notepad. And here is a tea-dyed old paper doily. This is the other side of that greeting card, that vintage greeting card. And again, I've created another journaling card just to hide in there, like that. Here with a rusty paper clip, there's a bridge scorecard paper here, and then there's a postcard here from Alphonse Muka. I still don't know how to properly pronounce that, so I apologize. This is, although it's repurposed, I found it at a thrift store, it is from a book of reprints of his artwork. So, but I really love it. And I love how she's holding a pen. So I chose it on purpose because you can see there she's holding a writing pen. This is a copy of a letter to my great-great-grandmother, written to her by her friend Sadie. So I just thought that looked cute there. So when you see Mrs. Mackay there, that's my great-great-grandmother. Now, there was so much sewing in this book, and I had to dedicate it to Nancy at Wishes and Weeds. So because there's some little orange flowers here, this is a sewing kit in case you need it. So that's right there. Another little, a little fabric and lace cluster that is a tab that's sewn on. A little pocket here. This is also made from Tim Holtz scrapbook paper. Yes, Tim Holtz scrapbook paper is new, but this was secondhand to me. I found it at a thrift store. There's just a little bit of lace there and a button, and it's all sewn in. And then here is, this is a vintage library catalog card. And this was also in that tea tin that most of the articles were from the 1940s. The lid was rusted shut. So I have no doubt they were all around from the same era, because boy, was it hard to get that lid open. And then this is from, I found this at a thrift store one day, a whole stack of them from birders. They're used to watch nests and count eggs and where they are and all that sort of thing. So I tucked those in there. This is the other side of that botanicals book with the pocket that was flipped up. And then inside I've added, I think this is from the racetrack. I'm not sure because it says name of horse. And that was in some Happy Mail that I received a while back. And then I made a little tag here with some collaging and a little bit of lace. And then there's room to journal on the back. Some more room for you. And this is a tip out. This is from a garden journal that I have that has just beautiful, beautiful photographs in it. Another little tuck spot here made from lace on that Royal Conservatory music. And another collaged and sewn on journaling card. The other side of the music composition paper with another little fabric and lace and button tab on it. And another little similar cluster up here. And that tips out. Here's a picture of a house. I made it to look like an old photo. This is actually from a book on the biography of Laura Ingalls Wilder. Because I cut off the information underneath, I do seem to recall that this was one of their homes that they lived in. And there's room on the back to journal. Over here is a little pocket made out of vintage wallpaper. And the wallpaper pattern just kept looking to me like, you know, a 1940s lady's house dress. So I made it actually look like the pocket of a little dress, and I trimmed it with a bit of lace and put a button on it. And because it looked like a housewife's day dress, I put a little shopping list in there. And then there's also some journaling paper. And as ever, it wouldn't be a Sunnyside journal without a Two Nanas bookmark. So I had to include a Two Nanas bookmark. And my Nana, who that lady is, actually probably would have worn a dress that had a pocket on it like this. She loved dresses. And here, oh, I added the fortune from one of my fortune cookies from a while back, and it says, "Dare to try, success is on your way." So I just sort of snuck that in there, and if you weren't quite looking for it, you might not see it. So you can see in this book, much of the things I've made to look like old ephemera, but also much of it is genuine ephemera. I've included a lot. And I really love how it turned out. And then, of course, this ribbon just wraps around. You can put it through the eyelets and tie it shut. And this little lady will peek at you through that window. I rather like how that worked out. So there you go. I think there's 55 pages in this notebook, but I will count them and I will list how many pages are in my Etsy listing for it. This will be going into my Etsy shop later today, probably in about an hour from when this video is posted. So if you're interested in it, I hope you'll go over and take a look-see and see if maybe it's for you. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.